Welcome back. This is the tool cabinet that I'm building, and on the previous episode we got as far as building out this box and putting in the shelves and cutting the curve pieces. I've since put in the back here to make sure that this cabinet's square. All of this is just dry fit, it's not secured yet. But I've put this in the back to make sure the front's square so I can install this piece here. This is a light valance, there's going to be a light underneath here. But what I need to do is miter this, and it's a little bit challenging because the miter has to stop here so that it doesn't continue on the cabinet. The reason I'm mitering it is so that when you see the cabinet from this side, you won't see what that joint is, and when you see it from the front, it has a clean face as well. Cutting a miter and this curve is going to be very difficult, so I'm going to square this off first and then work on that miter second. Now I can measure the point here where the miter will go down to, and the point here where the miter on the front needs to start. So I'm going to cut this on the chop saw, and I need to make a jig for the side of these so I can cut them on a 45-degree angle and stop them. I'll show you how I do that. Because my table saw only bevels in one direction, meaning it's on an angle, I can cut this angle here, but I can't cut this angle here. Even if I flip this board over, it's still the wrong angle. So I've got a bit of a challenge here I have to overcome. Here's the plan. I've pulled out some scrap wood. I had some corner blocks left over from another project, and what I'm going to do is make a sled. So these corner blocks go in here. I'm going to take this board, hold it up here in a 45, secure that all together, and allow me to run a board across here and get a 45-degree cut in it. Now the reason that's important is I only want this cut to come part way through and stop it. So I can run it through this way, I'll flip my fence around, and I can run the other board through the other way, and that way I can get a miter on the end of each of those boards and still cut them off square. With the sled built, it's now time to test it out. I'm doing this with a scrap to make sure that it's set up properly and it's going to do exactly what I want to do. I mark the line where I want to stop the cut and test out to make sure it's not going too deep. And it works, so I'm ready for the real cut. With the first piece cut, I now need to flip the fence over to the other side. I use the Delta Unifence, and it allows me to switch sides so I can cut on the left or right side of the saw blade. Now I just need to put my new jig on the other side and line it up, so I'm all set to go.
Now it's over to the hand tools. I first cut off the scrap so I can get my flush cutting saw where I need it and get the guide from the previous cut. As long as I keep my flush cut saw against that previous cut, I know I'm getting a straight line. So it's just a matter of carefully working down to the bottom of that cut and getting it square to where I need it. Then I move on to the bottom. I put a square line on here so I've got a line to work to. And again, just carefully work my way through it so I get closer and closer to that corner. With the sides all cut, now I can move on to mitering the light valance. What I do is set up my saw so I'm beveling at a 45-degree angle, and then I fine-tune my dust collection hood so I'm pulling the optimum amount of air to pull that dust through. Miter saws are really dusty in the shop, so this setup really keeps the shop clean. I find the best way to get an accurate cut is to make a couple of cuts and sneak up on the line. This way I'm not risking cutting across the line and making the piece too short. After all the work I put into this piece, I don't want to mess it up on a lazy cut. Now I can test the piece, and it's got a nice tight fit. There's a little bit of a gap, but I've got a finishing trick for that. So I'll show you that when I go to assemble the cabinet.
I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel using the link below here. If you do that, you'll be notified of the next episode that comes out on this tool cabinet, and that's putting in the drawer dividers for this curved front here. I'm building curved drawers, and I have a horizontal divider that needs to be curved, and the upright pieces as well. So that'll be the next video, and I'm hoping you enjoyed the video here on how to do a stopped miter. Until next time, enjoy your time in the wood shop.